Todd Furkey, City Alderman.
Greg F. Alderman.
Joe Zerfel, Alderperson. Item number 2, consider for approval a wastewater department request to purchase a lawn tractor.
Okay. I guess I'll handle this on his behalf. Basically, the wastewater department's requesting the replacement of their lawn tractor from Power Pack Pro, the low bid, for $9,318. This piece of equipment is pretty old and needs replacement. The funds would come out of our fleet depreciation account.
I'll make a motion to approve the wastewater department request to purchase a lawn tractor for $9,318.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, consider for approval a request from Chief Blevins to purchase and install a public safety simulcast radio system.
Thanks. We have been, for the last several years, experiencing some problems with reception with the police portable radios in interior spaces in the city. Specifically on the west side of town. We had asked Baycom Company to do a study and determine the causes of the problems, and they have put together a proposal to solve our problems by adding a simulcast system which would repeat the radio signals in those sections of town that are affected, so that we get better reception in the interior of buildings in those parts of town. I believe you guys have a copy of the quote from Baycom, and also we put together a pack that they gave us that explains the technology, which is in some ways over our heads as far as how it's accomplished. But they propose putting a repeater system on the water tower located at the east water tower. Is that right, Randy?
Well, that's where we're operating off of right
The
now.
Alton Street,
East
I'm
side.
sorry.
Yeah, we'll be right by Mead School there.
And if you look at page 7 of your package, page 7 is the existing coverage with green is, basically green is good and yellow and red are not. This is the existing coverage that we have. You can see on that northwestern part of town, we have some pretty poor coverage for their interior, for our police radios. Their proposal, it would be page 8, if you would look at that. With the new repeater, you can see that it greatly expands our coverage in interior spaces on the west side of town by adding that system to the water tower there. We're requesting that we be able to proceed with the quote from Baycom and proceed with the fixes.
Make a motion to approve the request from Chief Blevins you're looking for a further quote from them, or?
This is the quote. We've actually, they gave us a revised quote, which is a little over $1,000 less, but this is the quote that we're pursuing at this point, is the one you have in front of you.
So I'll make a motion to approve pursuing the installation of the simulcast system through Baycom.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4. Consider for approval a request from Statewide Services to deny a claim by Corey Hendrickson.
Okay, our insurance company is recommending denial of this claim, which basically would shorten the statutory limitations for them to file a formal claim in court to 6 months. And I recommend approval. This is pretty much our standard procedure on these claims.
Make a motion to approve the request from Statewide Service to deny a claim filed by Corey Hendrickson.
Second.
Motion and a second to deny the claim. All in favor? I'm sorry. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5, consider for approval a settlement of an excessive assessment claim filed by Global Equity Investments Group LLC.
Hello. This is I've been sitting outside. This is you received a notice of claim on this probably almost a year and a half ago. It was a claim for excessive assessment filed by the owners of the Rapids Mall. Main building of the Rapids Mall was assessed at $1.866 million, and they thought it should be probably about half of that. In any event, you denied the claim, and then they did file a notice of an excessive assessment claim in circuit court, and that was probably 8 or 9 months ago, and we've been on and off negotiating with them, and they only filed for the 1 year, so it was for the year 2016. So they didn't. I'm sorry, it would be for 2015 to be paid in 2016, and they did not file for this past year, and they're in the process of selling the mall. So they have some reason to settle, and I guess I kind of consider this almost paying a nominal amount just to get out from under the litigation and to have costs of experts and so on. They were looking for $32,000 in overpaid taxes, and we would proposing to settle for $8,000, which would require the city's portion of that, after it's charged back to the other taxing jurisdictions, to be over $3,000. We have confidence in the assessor and his evaluation. However, as I said, to avoid the cost of litigation, and also in recognition of the development that hopefully will be occurring there, and I guess we can consider it part of our contribution to the development of that property to settle this litigation and have them move forward. So Steve is not here, but the assessor said that this was, he would approve it, or was in agreement with it, and so we're recommending approval.
The balance of the 8,000, is that going to be easy enough to recover from the other jurisdictions?
Right, it's just there's a process, a statutory process of chargeback on that, so it's just an automatic thing that happens in these situations. Do you have any more questions?
I'll make a motion then to approve the settlement of the excessive assessment claim filed by Global Equity Investments Group LLC.
Second that.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Item number 6, consider a resolution approving a development agreement with Cranberry Woods, Wisconsin Rapids LLC for the development of townhouses on the real estate located at 2330 16th Street South.
Right, this is the property at the corner of 16th and Pepper, which is going to be developed into townhouses, and previously you had had approved an offer to purchase, a real estate sales agreement with them to sell the property to, it's now called Cranberry Woods, Wisconsin Rapids LLC. They've assigned the offer to purchase to Cranberry Woods. So we had talked about ways, at the time they were filing for tax credits, and the sale provided that it would be at $1 to show the city's investment or contribution towards the project. And now that they have the tax credits and are moving forward, we had talked with them about having some way to recapture some of that money in terms of the sale. And they have agreed to pay a development fee, which is outlined in the development agreement which I had attached. And that would be paid within 45 days of closing on the property. I believe that's going to happen by the end of this month. So I think it's 40,000, right?
Yeah, that's what he said. I think it's like 40.
Development agreement.
Right, 40,000 within 45 days of the execution of the agreement or the time of closing. We had previously talked about impact fees, but we don't have an impact fee ordinance, so we can't pass that on to them, and they have agreed, instead of, we had also talked about doing some type of a guarantee tax increment that they would have to reach each year, and to the extent they didn't, they would have to pay an additional special assessment to the city, but they want to just pay it all right away and be done with it, which is beneficial to the city, I believe. There's also a reversion clause that if they don't develop, we would get that property back, and actually the development fee would be waived. So I would recommend approval of the development agreement.
Make a motion for a resolution approving the development agreement with Cranberry Woods, Wisconsin Rapids LLC for the development of townhouses on the real estate located at 2330 16th Street South.
I'll second. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7, presentation by Southwood County YMCA and the Boys and Girls Club of Wisconsin Rapids area of the proposed Rapids Mall redevelopment and overview of potential city involvement in the project.
Well, thank you. We have a slide deck that we'd like to share. Is there? No, put that up there. Can we sit up at the big kid table?
You can stay at the big table.
Dry everything.
Center one. Right there, there you go. Is there a clicker? Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Well, thank you for the opportunity for Kent and I to present on behalf of our two organizations about our capital project. Joining us tonight is Luke Weiland. He is an officer with the Board of Directors with the Southwood County YMCA. We also have another board member, Candy Nelson, with the Boys and Girls Club. And one of our project partners, Mike Bovee, with the Legacy Foundation of Central Wisconsin. With that, our intent tonight really is kind of threefold. So let's see if we can get this to work. Oops. There we go. Just a brief reintroduction to our organizations, what we do, why we do what we do, and most importantly, the impact that we play in the community. Secondly, share a little bit more about the details behind this proposed project and the development. And the third is, really kind of seek support and partnership with the city about how we can make this project a reality for Wisconsin Rapids and for the greater region at the end of it. So I'm going to turn it over to Kent, who talk a little bit more about our organizations.
Thanks, Brett. There we go. So I just want to talk a little bit about the club first of all. The Boys and Girls Club started back in 1994 with one site at Washington Elementary School, and over the last 23 years has grown to 4 sites, 2 in Wisconsin Rapids, 1 at Meade Elementary School, our other headquarters location at the old Pitch Elementary School building, and 1 site in Port Edwards and also 1 in Nakusa. All of our programs and services that we offer fall under 3 of our priority outcomes, which is academic success, good character and citizenship, and healthy lifestyle. So everything we do falls under those 3 pillars. Each day, kids that attend the club, they get homework help, they get a healthy snack, we have physical activity for them, and trying to teach them about community service and the importance of that. We serve about 1,500 registered members between all 4 of our sites. About 900 of those kids are in the Wisconsin Rapids area. 350 of them are over at Meade Elementary School, and the other 550 come from the other elementary schools, East, West, Lincoln, and the private parochial schools. In Rapids, we see somewhere between 200 and 225 kids a day between those 2 sites in Wisconsin Rapids. Cost to attend our program, it says up there $120 an annual membership fee. We have $20 for a school year fee and $100 for our 10-week summer program. We'll never turn a child away. We have financial assistance programs based on free or reduced lunch at the school, and approximately 65% of our kids are receiving free or reduced lunch. So the $120 annual membership is what the cost of the kids are. Our cost for each kid is about $2,000 a year. So we are absorbing that through community support, other foundations, and grant requests that we're filling. A little bit about the Y. I think we all are aware of the fitness centers and aquatics that the Y has to offer, but they have so much more than meets the eye. The child care, the day camps, youth sports, and really just health and wellness programs for kids in our community. Personally, as I've started to work with the Y a little bit, it's been very interesting to me to see how similar the populations that we serve are. I think that is something that I wasn't aware of when we first started this, but a large portion of the kids that attend the Y are receiving financial assistance. Part of our efforts, part of our efforts are to try to provide unduplicated services within our community. We've partnered on a number of things, and the opportunity that presents itself in front of us is really going to provide the community and the youth and families with access to world-class facilities, world-class programs, and world-class staff. We have an opportunity to improve the overall well-being of our community and provide a facility that we've never seen in this community before. Another reason, that we're partnering, both of our organizations realize we can't do it alone. There's a number of challenges that our youth and our families face in our community, and trying to do it separately is not going to be as effective as we can be working together. This facility is going to be something that all families of any socioeconomic background will be able to have access to. And really, it's more than a facility. It's going to be a hub for our community, a central place that everybody is welcome, everybody deserves to be at, and really just hopefully be a community hub in our community for people to gather. Part of this is being able to meet and address some of our community needs. Mental health, the drug epidemic in our community right now. Our organizations are doing everything we can to be a catalyst for improving the health of our community and allow families that are underserved to get the health and the access to these facilities, and really being able to level the playing field for all the families in our community. It's 5 clicks. Just to talk a little bit about why this is such an important effort for both of our organizations, because doing nothing is not an option for both of our organizations. The Y has aging facilities. The Boys and Girls Club is leasing the pitch facility from the Wisconsin Rapids public school system, and our lease is expiring. So we have to find something more permanent for our kids. And not only are the facilities, but our membership and our programs have been growing over the last 5 years, and we need to address a way to meet the future demand on the facilities and the programs that we'll have, as well as the ability to expand the mission and the services that we offer to this community. The last slide was really just talking about our organizations being stronger together than they are apart. With the academic enrichment, the mentoring, the teens that services that the club provides, with the early childhood, the youth sports that the Y provides, we can provide a world-class facility with world-class programs and world-class staff, as I mentioned. So thank you for the time to just give you a little insight into what our organizations are doing. And I think Brett's going to talk a little bit more about project specifics.
Yeah, I mean, as I think most are aware, on August 29th, we were pretty excited to announce how our two organizations were partnering together to really serve more youth, adults, and families within our community. But one of the outcomes of this partnership is really the development of this new joint collaborative facility, which you're seeing a rendering in this slide. But it's really aimed at improving the social, emotional, and physical well-being of not only children but families throughout the region. As an additional piece of that announcement, we shared our intent of purchasing the Wisconsin Rapids Mall location. And although we have an accepted offer, it's not final as we work through a number of contingencies, some of which we're hoping that the city can help resolve for us to make this a reality. But assuming we're able to overcome those contingencies, this sale would become final on November 30th. This proposed project is approximately 89,000 square feet with an estimated project cost of $27.5 million, and in a location that we really feel best serves the entire region. Oops, and then I break it. Let's see if that works. Thank you. Oh, yeah. So as you can see from this slide, this visual, this location really centralizes our operations and really puts us in a place where we think is in the heart of the entire region. This is really the central place for serving the community, and in essence, makes it easily accessible to all communities throughout Southwood County. Additionally, with this location being located on the west side of Wisconsin Rapids, we believe it positions our two organizations in close proximity to those neighborhoods that really benefit from our services the most. Yep, thank you. Thank you for being the clicker. As we look in closer to the site, that the proposed location is situated among a number of existing and future community assets. As you can see from the Wood County Health Department, Centralia Center, the Tribune Project, a number of the projects the city's investing in along the waterfront, the Triangle, as well as access to walking and biking paths. So a number of community assets and community projects that we think that this proposed development is very complementary to that. We see great advantages not only for us, but really the community as a whole with this location, and quite honestly feel that it helps supports and undergirds the city's downtown revitalization efforts. As I said, that the Y has an accepted offer to purchase the Rapids Mall, but in addition to that is the adjacent property that has that car wash piece. So if you can do one more. So this is the overall site plan as we're looking at today. It's about 12 acres, highlighted by the dotted red lines in the image. It calls for a combination of both renovated and new spaces. There would be two areas or sections of the mall that would be renovated to accommodate new programs. Those being the JCPenney space, as well as this section, about 20,000 square feet, that's adjacent to the Centralia Center. The remaining portions of the mall would be demolished to make way for new programming. But included in our efforts is the relocation of an existing VA clinic to new spaces that would be adjacent to the Centralia Center. This new development would result in the VA's ability to not only double its current space, but in design really update their healthcare standards, bring actually more services to Wisconsin Rapids and the region, and quite honestly just serve more vets in the process. So we're pretty excited by the campus that's being created. If we look at the future state of the site, we really feel that it'll be a total transformation from how we see the site today, both in form and in function. Again, there you can see how there would be reuses of existing spaces in combination of new planned spaces. This site, and quite honestly, this is one of the areas that we'd like to highlight. With the city's help, we can add needed sports fields for programming, as well as we have this need to create parking and identity and access for the VA clinic. And so that is one of our considerations to the city and to this council, that this section of the property, which is owned by the city of Wisconsin Rapids today, would be up for consideration for donation to the project in order to help fulfill those two objectives of not only creating the necessary parking and entryway for the VA, but also this needed field space for our programming. The building is actually facing towards the intersection of Grand and the Expressway, and as you can see through our evaluation, there are two portions of the property that we've identified for future development. We have not identified what those plans for future redevelopment are. However, we are very much open to discussions on what that may look like in the future. And those sections, again, are highlighted in red here. You know, as you step back, you know, hopefully you see, obviously, the creation of this new YMCA and Boys and Girls Club space. But really, it's a bigger end outcome and end game when you look at it with the connectivity and the creation of a new VA, that connectivity to the Centralia Center, and quite honestly, the linkages to the other community organizations surrounding that property. We really feel it's going to be a comprehensive campus with like-minded service providers, and really a catalyst for change in that downtown area. If we look inside the four walls, this is our first floor plan rendering right now, just to kind of give you a point of reference. This is the J.C. Penney building as it is today. As you can see, the 2/3 of the space would be reclaimed and updated and really create world-class Boys and Girls Club spaces, as well as house YMCA childcare and other community venues. New spaces would include indoor aquatics, locker rooms, gymnasiums, first floor wellness space, and you can see its adjacency to the VA and our ability to keep the community theater intact through our design. Second floor would have additional adult wellness and workout spaces, as well as an indoor walking track suspended over the gymnasium. So that's what the building would look like on the inside. And so these are just a couple of renderings of looking at what the new entryway would look like for the Boys and Girls Club, really immediately adjacent to Grand Avenue. You can see right out there in front, a high amount of visibility and accessibility. As you can see, the entry for the proposed YMCA spaces, again, looking from that entryway coming in off of Grand, as well as some of our ability to create some community space and outdoor social space. And this is an area really coming in from that southwest area in by Subway, the fields, which kind of where the Yonkers building stands today, as well as where how much visibility would be for the VA clinic, as well as the Centralia Center now created as a result of this development with that. So as we shared earlier, our project budget is $27.5 million. That's what our projected cost with this. One area of note is that project budget does not include the expenses tied to relocation of the VA clinic. So that's outside of this when we look at that. We've seen great support already as our organizations have $15.5 million committed to the project already. And because of the location of this project, it is eligible for outside investment through new market tax credits incentives, which we've been receiving very positive response from with that. But it leaves a gap to goal of $6.5 million that we have left to close in order to make the project reality. And if we don't close that, it doesn't unlock those new market tax credits incentives that come along with that. And so our goal is to successfully raise those funds by the end of February next year. And really kind of one of the reasons why we're here in front of you tonight, really seeking that city support for the project, which actually can come in a number of different forms. Kind of skipping ahead to actual partnership. This is nothing new for our entities. I mean, the club, the Y, and the city maintain positive relationships, not only today, but in the past and as we go into the future. And quite honestly, we've been trusted partners in a number of projects already, from the Urban Day Camp from the last couple of years, to Park and Rec with housing the gymnastics programming, corporate membership, and really advocacy between the various projects and initiatives that our organizations have had. And so partnering, again, is nothing new to us and how we work. So this is what, this summarizes what we are bringing forward for you for consideration at this point. Two main areas, for one for project site and the other is for project partnership. And I'd share with you, this kind of outlines in a little bit more detail what, Mr. Furkey up there. What we're looking at here. But the first is really that we need to clean up the title and document review for this location. One of the things, and I don't have enough copies, I have enough just for the committee, but I can certainly provide more if for those, is that we have an existing agreement, access and parking agreement that was first established by the Rapids Mall and the old Woolco building back in the day in 1978, and that transferred ownership to Walmart and then essentially the city of Wisconsin Rapids today. The original and purpose of this, I'll give this to you, Sue. The original purpose of this agreement was really to provide access between retail and shopping between the various entities. And so with the current use of the Centralia Center today, as well as the proposed future use of our project, it becomes really outdated and really needs to be re-looked at and as part of this project. So we would be requesting support in working with city staff to review that, terminate that document, and essentially create a new access agreement that between the parties. So you can see that there. The second area is around getting the necessary approvals, zoning approvals for the project site. Now we will be going in front of, I think, Public Works and Planning Commission here in November. But ultimately, it's the City Council that will approve this proposed plan development and site. So we need to secure that approval in order for us to complete the transaction of the sale. And then, if you recall back to the overall site plan, we really need to acquire that 0.63 acres on the south side of the project in order to support the creation of fields as well as parking and identity and entryway for the VA clinic. So it would be our request for consideration that the city donate that land. When we look at project partnership support, there's two areas within here. The first is around grant support. We would be requesting that the city contribute grant writing leadership and be the fiscal pass-through for any state and federal grants, those being WDC, EPA, others that might help support the project. And so these funds and this type of partnership will help offset any project costs and essentially assist us in closing our project funding gap. So we would throw that out for consideration. And the last area, based upon the handout that I shared with you, is really about partnering with us on infrastructure investment, whether that's through direct contribution or through in-kind, self-performed work that would provide the necessary assistance in supporting infrastructure improvements on this location. And then within your handout here, there is some examples of areas as well as a site map behind that kind of zones off the entire parcel that we feel might be great areas for the city to partner on helping to make the project a reality. So those are really the five areas that we see where the city could really help support us in this project, and would throw that out for consideration. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Luke, who's going to talk a little bit about why city participation, but more importantly, what's to be gained, what are the benefits to the city of Wisconsin Rapids and the region as a result. So,
I think Brett captured the essence of the project very well himself here. I come to you as not only a board member, but as a YMCA member and father of three, and hopefully a promoter of not only our community but our children and their future here today. As you sit there, I think the questions you should ask are, why should the city of Wisconsin Rapids participate here today? And ultimately, what's the city's benefit? First of all, we have a funding gap through your participation in any of the aforementioned areas that Brett went through. You're not only partnering with us, but you're partnering with the city in developing the ability to close that gap. Second, it would fully support the long-range plans of the downtown development. As Brett pointed out earlier, there's certainly a significant, I guess, bullseye right where the YMCA is proposed to be here, and I think it would assist in being a driver for the economic development in the area. It would definitely spur future activity with over 1,000 visits to just the YMCA daily, and that's just the Y campus, and that would not be including the Boys and Girls Club or the VA Center. Additionally, the Y is a staying power with the users that will utilize the downtown businesses and practicality just for their close proximity. And hopefully it would spur new business development. Obviously, Brett pointed out a couple areas that could be developed right next to the proposed YMCA, and hopefully there's also another number of sites as Mayor is also looking at in the nearby neighborhoods that I know would definitely spur from the activity that the YMCA would help promote in the future. Also, the Y would have a number of activities that would go outside of the normal day-to-day activity that would hopefully promote additional outside folks from the area to come visit and spend time in the YMCA in the downtown area. Next, we'd look at the highest and best use study that's been conducted on the mall recently, and it suggests that the future vitality and sustainability is for civic uses such as the YMCA and Boys and Girls Club. Obviously, the study came back as it being a dying property that's quite blighted, but we're hoping to go exactly to the opposite side of the spectrum here with this and promote more of a vibrant community immediately there adjacent to it. Next, there would be some job creation. Obviously, immediately, Myron Construction would have a lot of folks from their construction business working there, and I do believe that there's over 250 Myron Construction employees that currently live in Wisconsin Rapids and the surrounding communities, so obviously that would be promoted. And long term, there would be 16 additional full-time employee positions that the YMCA and Boys and Girls Club would create, and there would be 8 with the VA Center. Next, it would bring access service to the neighborhoods that are more economically challenged, as mentioned earlier, and it would also improve quality for Wisconsin Rapids as far as attracting future employers, employees, and just job recruitment to the area. Also, it would simply attract more adults and families, and it would address the needs of the health in our community, which it's always going to continue to grow as obesity, aging, and mental health, as well as tackling other endeavors continue to grow. Next, it would ensure that our projects and organizations are sustainable, not only now but for the long haul, and provide for community benefit. And it would also promote the general community collaboration, such as partnering with the farmers market and others to help bring services to our immediate community. This project will benefit our community beyond anyone his wildest imaginations here today. I hope that as you sit here, your thoughts would shift from why we want to participate to we need to partner and how can we participate here today. For the city of Wisconsin Rapids and for the benefit of the people, basically from infants all the way to the elderly.
So this really speaks ultimately to the desired outcomes that we have here from tonight. One would be for this group to approve city staff to address that remaining agreement that's out there that's needed for us to complete in time for the sale of the property, and really getting that in place, but hopefully by October 31st. We would ask consideration of donation of that 0.63 acres of land needed to complete the necessary field space and VA pieces, and authorize city staff and really city support in helping to write grants that can be used to help support the project itself, and then consideration of other ways through in-kind or direct contribution to help offset infrastructure investments at this location. So those really are there. So when you look at it, some of these are probably a little bit more achievable than others, but all in all, between the grants and the infrastructure investment, we would look for somewhere in around, it's about $1.5 million worth of investment or value that the city could participate in this project as a result of So with that, I guess that we would pause there. If there's any questions that folks would have, we'd be happy to entertain those.
If I could chime in, guys, with the perspective of Legacy Foundation, we'd like to kind of continue to build on the partnering approach that we took with the splash pad, where we're contributing a significant portion of it and a small portion coming from the city. I personally see this as part of the responsibility of cities to support projects like this, and I don't know where a city like ours is going to find an opportunity as big as this to really make a difference and an impact on the downtown area. Now, we're not asking you to do anything that the Legacy Foundation isn't willing to do almost 10 times over. We're in for what we're expecting to be in excess of $10 million. And so we're putting our money where our mouths are on this project. The issue, though, is that even with that, we're still short that $1.5 million that we need from you folks, and then the community fundraising. But we want you to know that we're in this. We're already contributed over $4 million to the project. And we just know that this works better when we do it together. The funding gap that we're talking about, the funding that we've committed is, we know we've got about 2 years worth of our funding committed toward this project and some others that we already have on the table. So we're out there fighting the fight right along with you. And frankly, we look at this and see this as a small price to pay for the results that this community can achieve from this project. And to me personally, this is a no-brainer. That's why we're involved, and that's why we think you should be involved in it as well.
Any other questions?
All right, thank you. Any other questions? So the future development that those two areas that are on the front there, is that in connection to the community type service, or is that commercial?
It's open for any. Obviously, there's some development that wouldn't be complementary to the services that we do, right? We want to make sure it's appropriate, but I think you can understand what that is. But as far as commercial, retail, whatever, we'd be very open for discussions on that.
Okay.
You're chuckling.
And you don't want a microbrewery or anything.
The current farmers market and stuff like that, that's ongoing now, that'll continue?
That is our immediate initial thought is that it's complementary, it ties to our value chains around food. I know that there's been some other community organizations rallying around this. I think there's a larger conversation ahead. We're helping to support that in the conversations in any way that we can, yeah.
And the value in kind that you're asking for the city, at least in labor costs and stuff like that, what is the timeline?
We have a lot of flexibility with that, so thank you for asking. So just an overall quick, I forgot to mention about our timeline. So, will emerge here in November with our public phase of our fundraising. All goes well. It is our hope that April 1st is the timing of our work, and it's about a 14 months, so we're looking fall of 2019. So there are certain phases to this project. So, the renovation of those 2 existing mall areas, right, be done, versus timing of demolition, versus timing of coming back and doing landscaping. So I think we're very flexible in working with the city about how we accomplish those things, if they're willing to partner.
That being said, I think one important point is that to unlock the new market tax credits, the project needs to have committed by all the parties involved that there's going to be the funds or the work done so that the whole thing can get done. So unless they have assurances that you got it, you either have bridge financing to get to where you need to be, and the city and other pledged people have already said, yes, we're in, they won't say we're in. So we got to have commitments from all the different parties for the total $27.5 million before this thing goes.
Sure. Yep.
So
Thank you.
just want to make sure this doesn't just keep
Is there a deadline?
No, they can't keep trundling
New market
along.
tax
Right,
credits?
I understand.
Yeah. The question was, is there a deadline on the new market tax credits? Our plan right now is closing of like February 28th of 2018. And as some of the city staff know, all of the equity for that project has to be in hand at that time secured. Otherwise, it doesn't unlock that incentive. So. Great.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Item 8, in open session, the committee will vote to go into closed session under section 19.85, parent 1, parent E of the Wisconsin statutes, which reads, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Sub A, in closed session, the committee will have discussions on a proposed development agreement with the Southwood County YMCA and the Boys and Girls Club of the Wisconsin Rapids area. Sub B, the committee may return to open session and take action or make recommendations regarding item 8A. I'll make a motion and move into closed session. Second. Motion and second to go into closed session. Roll call vote.
Yes.
Very good.
Thank you, gentlemen.
We appreciate everything, and we look forward to further conversations. So, thank you.
See you again. Okay, item 9. Consider for approval a Class A beer and Class A liquor license application submitted by Quick Trip Incorporated for the premises at 1111 Lincoln Street, doing business as Quick Trip number 128. I have reviewed all of them, I believe. Two. So I will make a motion to approve the Class A beer and Class A liquor license application submitted by Quick Trip for the premises at 1111 Lincoln Street, doing business as Quick Trip number 128.
Second. I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 10, consider for approval a cigarette and tobacco products retail license application submitted by Quick Trip Incorporated for the premises at 1111 Lincoln Street, doing business as Quick Trip number 128.
Make a motion to approve cigarette and tobacco products retail license application submitted by Quick Trip Incorporated for the premises at 1111 Lincoln Street, doing business as Quick Trip number 128.
Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11, consider for approval resolution number 28-2017, budget amendment number 5.
What do you mean? This is a budget amendment. Earlier this evening, we approved the public simulcast system for the police department. And this is a resolution to fund it. Basically, in previous years, we had budgeted money, starting to put money aside for new communications towers. Obviously, now we're going to And there was about $47,000 left over in those monies, so we're committing that. The police department is utilizing $20,000 of their existing police department outlay account, and the rest is coming from contingency. So this is just transferring the amount from the contingency to the police department outlay to fund that previously approved request.
I guess I would just add, I should have mentioned maybe from the chief, but this is a project that really needs to happen. I think we all are aware of the issues anyway.
Yeah, I think that there was no debate about the necessity or the urgent need, and it's been the vendor took forever, and I think it's, change in leadership and a whole host of other things. It's probably a year longer. We started budgeting for communications tower upgrades 5 years ago, or 4 years ago in the budget. So it was a long time coming, and I think the one thing that we all had some discussion about is this project in particular is one of those that really should have been funded through the budget process, right? Not in October of the budget year. So, and I realize things take time and there's some dynamics there, but this is a case in point that should have been accomplished through the budget process. But it wasn't requested, and we work off of requests from departments, and there were dollars set aside in previous budgets, but it wasn't fully funded. So,
That's the chief. I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 28-2017, budget amendment number 5.
I'll second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 12, 2018 budget update.
So Friday we sent a draft budget to all of you, which included all departmental requests as on Friday. We've been meeting with a number of departments over the last week and a half, or even longer, to review their requests. There were the state budget, transportation aids, the delay in that. We finally got our transportation aids today, which is a big revenue component to the budget. So we didn't have that information. Frankly, there was some departmental requests that came in very late that were, I would say, incomplete due to some estimations on project costs for various reconstruction projects. So we now have those, and we continue to discuss with Public Works their pieces. But that's kind of the culmination of all of this. We tried to get something October 1st, and there was no way that was going to happen this year given those pieces. So the requests generated about a $500 and some thousand budget gap. We've worked down to probably 200 and some thousand, or a little bit less than that.
300,000 at this point.
300,000, yeah.
Still working through some issues and things like that. And I think our hope is by the end of the week to get a balanced budget.
We'll have met with everybody by Friday, and then issue a kind of a final executive budget as we've done in past years for your review. And I know, Tim, we're talking about tax rate impact and some of the debt projections and things, because there's a significant amount of borrowing activities occurring, right? And we've talked about those over a number of months, whether it's the Aquatic Center or the Riverbank project or Public Works construction. That's just general construction projects. There's quite a bit of borrowing involved, so Tim's going to work on some debt projections and the impact of the tax rate. If you've got any other comments on those pieces.
Yeah, I mean, right now the budget as it stands today, we're looking at about a $6.5 million bond issue, and that's obviously to fund our other half. If you remember, we borrowed for half of our commitment, our $5.5 million commitment, so it includes that. East Riverbank Phase 1, Phase 2. Annually, we always go to the debt market to fund part of our public works construction, mainly the street construction projects, and then now we're kind of starting to analyze our building needs. I mean, we have aging facilities, and what we're doing is, since we're normally going out into the debt market for street construction, is kind of picking a couple projects, to add into that note issue each year, so that over the next number of years we're starting to address some of these building issues that are needed, and so that we're avoiding like a big bond issue or emergency type situations with building infrastructure failing and things like that. So we start being a little bit more proactive in that regards. So I guess the next question is scheduling meetings of when you want to meet on the budget and how you would like to go through the budget. I mean, it's purely up to you.
It's been our history. Last year we must have had 4 or 5. I'm guessing. I don't know what's
Yeah.
what we call it, but
We met a few times before.
Right.
Full
Yeah,
council meetings.
Right.
Yeah, we had some full, and then we had,
I think, I did email you, I don't know if you got it, but I don't know how involved you want me to be with your end of things, but I guess if you feel that we need to meet, I think we're all more than willing to.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would think that once we get the balanced budget, we have the executive budget, you know, that we schedule that meeting sometime in October here to kind of walk through the budget. Here's what it consists of, here's what it is. You've already gotten some of the departmental requests that you can kind of start going through. And then usually from that, you know, then we kind of say, okay, is there a specific department or questions that you'd like the department head to come in and address, or if you're comfortable with their budget, you know, there's, in years past, we've had all the departments come in and present their budgets and kind of go through, and then there's been years when the finance committee's like, well, you know, we reviewed the budgets, looks, you know, we understand it, or you call the department head with any questions, you know, so it's purely up to you. So, I mean, it could be that, you know, we schedule a meeting, you know, to go over the executive budget once it's balanced, and just kind of just be an overview of just kind of going through and walking through some of the highlights of the budget, you know, and even just kind of looking at some of the departments. But, you know, I think a lot of the operating budgets are fairly consistent with prior years. There's not a lot of, you know, surprises or changes in those or new initiatives.
That's kind of how we did last year, wasn't it? You had you had your close on Friday, and then we maybe met, like, gave us a week to look at.
Yeah, some kind of look at the calendar if you're thinking about next week's council. If you didn't want to stack it on a council night, maybe the 24th.
Yeah. And then we did ask in years past some department heads.
Right.
But like you said, it's been a little more. I'm just
that.
speaking from my experience. It's been a little more consistent the last couple of years.
Was it that Tuesday? Is it the
24th.
24th? Then we could have one
today.
That November 3rd, and then our regularly scheduled.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that would give us.
If we got questions in between, we can call
3 additional
department
meetings.
heads too, right? Yeah,
Right, and
I
that's.
already called too. So.
Yeah, because there's a couple components like, you know, the room tax. I'd like to have some discussion on room tax. I think, you know, Reggie is another group we funded through room tax. Maybe we want to have them come and present, or that could be outside the budget process too. I don't think it has to, but I think it's internal operating departmental pieces, but then it's just some of these other groups too that, not some groups we want to bring in, but you get some meetings scheduled, like you said, the 24th, the 7th, maybe then the 14th with adoption.
It allows
of the
public
17th.
input too, I mean, right?
Yeah, oh, definitely, yeah, people have questions about different things.
And we can always, schedule additional ones in there. Like you can have 2 of them in a week if we feel that there's.
I think that's what we did. If we had a question or something or wanted, you know, we might need it. I mean, I'm just thinking out loud, you may want to bring in
Right.
Chief just because he's new, you know, and,
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
even though the
Probably just
budget
kinda
might be
go
the
through it.
same, he might want that opportunity. I mean, well, both chiefs actually are probably going to intern.
Yeah, it could be that we just, you know, could be one meeting where, you know, you kind of have the ideas as department heads that you want to have in, and we give them like X amount of time, just kind of give a budget presentation. That's
Created
this
in the
budget.
Hey, I slashed my budget.
Except for your elections budget.
That's true, elections, but there's more elections this year than there were this year.
We have a mayoral election every 2 years.
So you think we need to meet around the 24th?
I think that would be a good time, because then we can get you the executive budget next week. That gives you, affords you time, and other alderpersons to kind of go through it, so that, you know, you can kind of start formulating your questions and kind of getting an idea of maybe some of the department heads you'd like to have come in, and then we'll go through we'll kind of walk through the budget and highlight things, and then obviously you've seen it, you know, you'll have the ability to ask questions and things like that, and then we can kind of strategize. as
Yeah,
to
like
what
last
you
year,
want to do.
last year with, you know, Paul's brought some things forward during the year, but it was nice to ask if I had questions or anything.
Right.
I have it in my calendar, so.
Yeah, if we could plan for the 24th for us to do kind of a highlights, go over the highlights, maybe just budget overall, and then hopefully at that point you have an idea of who you want us to coordinate with staff and things. That'll give you a week and a half to read, about 2 weeks, let's say.
Like I said, you have departmental budgets right now. Obviously, some of those will change, but you know, it kind of gives you an idea what's being requested, things like that. So you can start
Talk to
going
Joe, and
through
if you
that.
want to bring, well, you know, I mean, I don't think you want to bring Chief in. I don't know. That's my opinion.
What time on the 24th? 4:30?
I just put 5. I think that works good for these two, I know.
It's 4:35, whatever. I can get
4:30 is fine.
4:30
It's just-
4:30 or 5.
You're the chair.
Whatever works for you.
I put 5 if that's
fine.
because you guys work till 4. Oh,
Yeah, and then obviously at one of those meetings, we'll have Water and Light come in and present their.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll have to go to that meeting.
can you make 4:30?
I
4:30.
push it, but Tuesdays ain't too bad. I mean, I'm only 5 minutes away.
Greg wants to do 4:30, so let's change it to 4:30.
Probably. We're live, I can't be telling how you work.
Works for Tim too.
Works for Tim.
3? Make her 3.
Wanna do a new one?
6 a.m.
So that wasn't really a
Is
motion,
that-
right?
Right.
No, we'll set that, and we have a set next meeting date.
Okay.
Thanks for getting that out, too.
All right, are we
Well, yeah, I figured
ready?
to get it in front of you guys longer, more time you got to look at
Are
it.
we ready to move on then, Tim?
I just want to hear me talk more.
I think you keep me here longer.
Item 13 then, beverage operator license applications. We have reviewed those as well.
I make a motion to accept the beverage operator license applications as presented.
I'll second. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 14, audit of the bills. I'll make a motion to approve check numbers 69200 through 69654 and manual checks 99445 through 99471.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 15, set next meeting date.
Wait, so you guys, the next regular.
This is the next regular meeting.
So
When do you want to do the next regular meeting?
November
The second Tuesday.
That would be the 14th
14th.
Right,
at 5 p.m.
but then also put in there that
we got a
a special finance or budget or whatever.
Sure. And that's on,
20.
It's at 4:32.
No, the regular, I think Greg's trying to be fair. We keep the regular meetings at 5 because that's just when people
next,
expect them.
should I say,
So,
next special finance and property.
it's the
meeting.
24th.
But the budget's at 4:30, right?
The budget meeting on the 24th is 4:30. Full council on the 14th of November is 5.
Okay.
You're always early anyway, though. So.
Was it full council, 14th?
Full council?
No, full
Full
finance.
city.
Finance, 14th, right?
14th.
Okay.
You confused me now, Terry.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, motion is second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We are adjourned.